No way, go.
All right, let's roll. Welcome to the smartest people in the room. We are so glad that you are here with us, and just by showing up, you are already demonstrating your very own smarts. Today, we continue our celebration of Women's History Month by featuring two amazing talents. One who's already well known to our audience, and one who is on the rise and on her way to becoming a music mogul globally. Before we get started, let me take care of some business. First, to the audience, please feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat window. The reason we do these webinars is twofold. First, we want to showcase really smart people and the amazing work they do day to day in the industry. But the second reason is a bit more nuanced. Many of you know that I am a music industry headhunter. I place music executives in roles throughout the industry. So by definition and function, I help people connect with companies. In this series, my goal is to help you make more connections, and I invite you to take full advantage of that opportunity. Specifically, I engage you to engage with the speakers and the other attendees in the chat of the Zoom. Please introduce yourselves, share your LinkedIn profile, say hello to your friends, and make some new ones. And ask questions of our speakers. We will try to address as many of those along the way during the session. Also, please make sure that your chat is set to address speakers and attendees. I want to thank our sponsors for without their support, we could not keep this free. I want to thank First Horizon Bank, Buffkin Baker, Four Roses Bourbon, the Fairlane Hotel, the Tennessee Entertainment Commission, Lightning 100, Tennessee Brew Works, Moo TV, Jive Printing, Project Music, and Cushmaster's brand of CBD products. So let's get down to business. In today's host seat, we welcome back my good friend, Kelli Richards. Kelli is a seasoned business development executive in digital media, especially in music tech, and a SWAT team strategist with a strong, proven track record in identifying opportunities and driving a vision to life from concept to execution. She has established long-term trusted relationships with stakeholders across the ecosystem, including mainstream talent, content creators, media execs, tech innovators and leaders, brand execs, and investors. As a super connector, Kelli has curated an enviable network that at best affords her 1 degree of separation from virtually anyone in the space. Kelli started out as a young A&R exec at EMI Music and went on to launch and drive Apple's earliest initiatives in music and entertainment during her lengthy tenure there prior to launching her consulting practice. She's also been a talent producer on a myriad of award-winning shows, a private fundraiser events, working with a cross-section of some of the biggest talent on the planet. A multidisciplinary innovator, she has spent decades envisioning and identifying and unlocking the value of emerging technologies and corresponding new revenue streams for those at the convergence of tech, music, and entertainment, cross-pollinating people and opportunities to create mutual wins. Kelli's fascinated by people and what they want, need, or don't know they need yet. She gets involved with new business models, new innovations, and new alliances that create amazing and engaging experiences that inform, entertain, surprise, and delight customers. Kelli's also a trusted advisor to high achievers, typically out of tech and entertainment, who are looking to reinvent themselves around what matters most to them as they contemplate what's next. She holds an MBA, and she's been honored as a top 100 women of influence by Silicon Valley Business Journal. That's quite an intro there, Kelli. Welcome back. So glad to have you. And joining Kelli today, or tonight where she sits, as our featured guest is Jakel Horton. Jacquelle is the founder and CEO of Fave, a new social platform and marketplace dedicated to empowering superfans. Her passionate vision and execution plan for Fave won her 2020 Startup of the Year at the Music Tectonics Conference, and Fave is set to close a 1.5 million seed round in funding prior to its beta launch. Before Fave, Jacquelle worked at Google for 7 years, with 5 years at YouTube driving product development for YouTube creators and artists, responsible for shaping some of the most beloved creator monetization and analytics features. She spearheaded the vision and growth for products that grew over 1 billion users in just the last 3 years alone. Previous to Google, Jacquelle launched award-winning music and entertainment apps, innovated music distribution at UMG, and headed operations for teams spanning music label startups to established corporations. Receiving her master's degree from USC at just 20 years old, Jacquelle has been named one of the top 100 entrepreneurs in the world, top 50 women product managers in Europe, and in 2020 made the esteemed Forbes 30 Under 30 list. Please welcome these two rock stars to the smartest people in the room. Take it away, Kelli.
Thank you, Tom. Great for us
so
to
much,
be
Tom.
here. Our pleasure. And I want to start off by adding a little piece of editorial here to make sure the audience understands that Jacquelle and I are actually working together on Fave. So it's more than just the usual fireside chat interview. We're actually engaged on this exciting new endeavor together. So Jacquelle, you first came on my radar last fall when you won Startup of the Year at the Music Tectonics Conference for Fave. It was called Choir at the time. Mm-hmm. And not long prior, as Tom mentioned, you had been named to the Forbes 30 Under 30 list. So I want to start off by talking a little bit about what that experience was for you. You know, where were you when you found out about it, and what that prestige and exposure has led to. I wonder if it influenced you being featured at the Music Tectonics Conference to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Sure, thank you. And again, hello everyone. Happy to be here and excited for this great conversation with Kelli. And thanks again, Tom, for having us. So where was I when I heard the news? It's actually a very funny story that I think all of us can actually relate to, which is I was lying in bed in San Diego, California, which is where I'm actually from, but as you've been hearing rumbles of, I'm now living across the world in Switzerland. But I was laying in bed there laying in bed on the phone with Expedia, trying to book a flight back home because it was, I think, March 17th, and I eagerly needed to get back home before all of the flights shut down because of COVID. And so as I was on my phone, kind of looking at other flights and figuring out, I saw notification pop up with Forbes 30 Under 30, congratulations, and my heart dropped. It was, even before opening the email, as you can imagine, it was accumulation of my life, like coming to this moment to say, I did it. You know, it was a goal of mine that I had for a long time. And it was incredible to be in that space and get out of that moment of stress for a second and then kind of celebrate such an amazing accomplishment that I was very proud to have gotten. And then I'll share right after that, which goes into kind of where this has led for me. It was, okay, I've done this now. What's next? You know, what's next for me, right? Like life isn't over. I can't just, sit on a beach with a cup now, even though I accomplished one of my biggest professional goals. And I need to do something else. And so I think it was an interesting moment for me to say, let this be a catalyst for the beginning of an incredible future ahead, rather than the ending to what has been building up to accomplish this moment, right? And so I think I've kept that energy throughout to say, hey, let this be the start, right? The beginning, chapter 1 of what we're ahead to do. And I'm looking forward to having these chapters continue with a lot of, what we'll discuss today.
Yeah, wonderful. And I think a springboard as one of those next rungs on the ladder was your time at the Music Tectonics Conference, which is where I'm fortunate enough to first cross paths with you. And that's thanks to Dimitri and the crew at Rock, Paper, Scissors, of course.
Yeah, and I'll say that I don't think it was Forbes 30 Under 30 that got me to Music Tectonics. It was me reaching out to Dimitri and saying, hey, Dimitri, I listen to you in my car all the time. I love what you're doing. Like, you keep talking about fandom, and I want to let you know that I'm working on a project around fandom. Every time you talk about it, I don't hear you naming people working on it. And so just know that this is happening. And that was the beginning of what has become a great relationship with Dimitri. And I see him in the chat there with his hearts rolling. So thank you for being the beginning to all of this, Dimitri. We definitely give you that kudos.
Exactly. Well, let's go back to sort of the rewind towards the beginning here and talk a little bit, Jacquelle, about, obviously you grew up in San Diego. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing, your family, your background, some of the early passions that might have informed your career choice.
Sure. Yes. So as I shared, grew up in San Diego. I had a dad who was super into technology, science, but wasn't the dad that was, you must be a lawyer or a doctor, given that, right? But rather shared, you need to do what it is that you're super passionate about. Don't not do that, right? And so I was told from a young age that you can do whatever you set your mind to. And to be super frank, I think that has been what has carried me forward in, from small conversations to, big meetings at work to moments like this and building a company, because I felt always ingrained in me that line was actually true. And so that was kind of the mindset that I had rolling. And so as a child, of course, I, could only take literally what I saw in front of me. And I said, ooh, I want to do that, which was be an actress, right? I saw on TV that entertainment equals being an actress, right? I thought that was the only job available. And so that was my kind of like running thing as a kid. And then I said, wait, there's people behind the cameras who are actually running the operations of this thing. I want to do what they're doing, right? I want to bring all of this together. And then it became, I want to be a director, because again, it's the most forward-looking thing. So this evolved kind of through high school to say, oh, there's producers, there's, camera operators, there's other types of jobs. And I knew I wanted to be on the business side of running entertainment in high school. So much so that I know we talked about this a bit before. I said, parents, I would like to graduate early so that I could pursue this passion. I at this point, I'm like, I should have just had a senior year. But I wanted to pursue the passion that I had, and was able to graduate early at 16, and then went on to USC, where at USC they had a program that was dedicated to people who want to be on the business side of entertainment, right? So my undergrad degree was in entertainment business. I was able to uncover there, was taught by industry professionals on how to be an agent, how to be the producer, all of this, but of course unlocked another world, which was the tech side of it, right? And I think we called it interactive media back then. And so this brought to me, hey, there's interworkings behind the tools that people use to engage in entertainment. And I think that was what struck my interest the most throughout all of this, and then led to kind of the career path that set on from that.
Yeah, and I'm just so impressed that you got through school so quickly. I mean, it's a sort of a Doogie Howser story for anybody who's old enough to remember that analogy. But our journeys were similar in that we both kind of had a bug of what we wanted to do. Me at the age of 8, very clearly wanting to be a record producer. There was just no way around it. And you vouch for your part. And our journeys were similar in that we both started working at major record labels out of college. You at Universal, me at Capitol EMI, which weren't together at the time. And then you went on to BET, Black Entertainment Television, focused on digital and mobile initiatives. So tell us a little bit about what was most memorable about those early experiences in working with the music industry for you.
Yeah, great. So I started in the music industry when I was still in school. And so at this point I was doing the master's, and the master's was in law and philosophy, which sounds kind of funny to somebody who was in entertainment, but it was really because majoring in that would allow me access to the law school so that I can take music law, which is what I wanted to do and obsess around, right? And so there were a bunch of things that came from those courses that I wanted to see how they worked in practice, right? How smooth did these laws go into practice, et cetera. And so from those days, I was at UMG, I was at under Viacom. And I would say what really struck me in those moments was being at, of course, then it was a big company to me, but now looking at the grand scheme of things, being at a mid-size company, particularly when I was at BT under Viacom, I had the ability to make a stronger impact in the music and tech world and innovate faster than I see a lot of people have the potential to today. So doing that early on gave me that bug of, ooh, here's how we can make strides super quickly on a small team. And so, there I was doing things around the kind of early days of mobile apps, right? I was building, for example, like for the music video countdown show, we had building a tweet map where people who were logged on Twitter appeared on a map where you could see the stars glowing, and then you would tap on one of those stars, and then the celebrity that was standing next to them at the show would be able to talk to whoever we zoomed into on that map, right? So kind of these early days of fan engagement that came to life live there, right? And that was my first, these moments where these fans get so thrilled when they get to even hear their favorite artists in the background. That was just incredible for me to see and make happen, right? And then on the other side of it, right, it was also the time when we were just starting to say the word digital around the labels, and it was side divisions that were thinking of this, and it was again where it's mobile was a new thing that we were exploring. And so it allowed me to understand the different mediums at which we could propel these worlds and look outside of, the big boxes that we typically had before and just say, this is in your pocket. How do we enable these incredible experiences to connect people and the people who want to be connected in stronger ways, right? And so I think this is what led me to say, maybe this big box, the TV, isn't the future of tech, but this website called youtube.com is, and then, said, hey, maybe I can apply there. And then that's kind of what led to the next phase of my journey.
So both of us were pretty prescient that tech was going to be where we wanted to live versus in the traditional side of the music and entertainment world. Early days, right? Me at Apple, you at YouTube and Google, and your efforts led to compelling user experiences in massive scale. What were some of your learnings from those early experiences, or even throughout the Google YouTube tenure, that have catapulted you to where you are today with having launched Fave?
Yes, so I'd say a couple of things that I learned, and it's not I won't go into I built, this product and we learned, these features work and don't. Obviously, those are key learnings that came out of, what works for the entertainment world, what works for fans, and what works for creators. I'd say, to be honest, what actually impacted my career now, and I know will do so ahead, is what I learned around conviction and making sure to capitalize on white space. So for conviction, right, having the ability to truly see and have the freedom to think through what makes sense and what doesn't make sense in a challenge that you have ahead, and then have the balls to make sure that you push that forward no matter what anyone else thinks. Yeah. Because of the data that you have, because of this gut feeling in your belly that you can't get rid of due to the data that you've been seeing, because of maybe an insight that you found that, to you it's obvious, but for some reason you don't see existing somewhere else, and the drive to actually push that forward, I think was a huge learning that I had in the, again, kind of freedom that you have at Google to really think and do what you think is best at a company like that, right? And so applying that to what I was witnessing when I was at YouTube, right? Of, we do an amazing job around allowing a creator to have a kind of conversation with their audience, right? For them to have a powerful one-way street to communicate a message. But anytime it comes for that audience to react back or to participate in what's going on or to connect with each other, there is a white space. There's a white space and a huge opportunity, right? And I would be in real life seeing at conferences, people gathering in corners together and giggling and, planning what they're going to do. And they just met 5 minutes ago, but they're bonding so deeply around these creators that they love. And me going, okay, they're going to leave this conference, and where are they going to have all of these engagements? Where are they going to gather next? And that's it, poof. And they've like met their lifelong best friend here. And so once again, white space, right? And an opportunity while
white space meaning the opportunity, green space,
the opportunity,
like to really drive, you could drive a truck through that nobody was taking advantage of, that gaping
yes.
hole about fans being starved for wanting to interact with their favorite musicians, athletes, whoever.
Absolutely. And beyond just interact with their favorite musicians, interact with each other.
Exactly.
And I think that was a key insight that we have moving into Fave, which is it's not just about only finding ways to connect you with your favorite artists. And frankly, there's many platforms that allow for that, but it's leveraging these moments and these opportunities to bring together like-minded people who connect so deeply over something that compels them to get a tattoo on their arm or cry in their bedroom or, spend days in the cold outside waiting for something or, make sure that they log in at 5:01 to get the concert ticket, right? These actions are not typical. And what is it that's bringing all these people to do that? I think is, again, such a huge untapped opportunity.
Well, so clearly that's what led you to launch Fave. And frankly, that's what galvanized me to want to work with you so quickly when I saw you at Music Tectonics last fall, because as you know, I myself had that vision 25 years ago when, it's hard to believe it's that long ago, when Todd Rundgren and I launched something called Patronet, the very earliest form of enabling artists and fans to engage. You took it a step further. Now, of course, we were just way too early. You took it a step further when you launched Fave. The focus and the differentiation, as you say, is squarely on fans interacting with each other, which I don't know anybody who's really emphasized in any other venture to this point. I know there are some out there, but nothing like the way you do it. So let's talk about what makes Fave different in the approach that we're taking with the go-to-market, how we're going to scale it, differentiate it from the other to fan and fandom oriented ventures that are in the market.
Yeah. So as I started sharing, right, the market right now has many great tools around creator to fan connection, right, where they allow a creator to have a suite of tools to gather their fan base, or for them to allow exclusive access to content or materials or merch or whatever to their audience, right? And the onus is always placed on the creator to create content or to show up and do something, or to be the ones where the fans are waiting and waiting and waiting for something. And these creators are very busy, right? Producing many things, right? And it shouldn't be perceived as, oh gosh, I have to engage with my fans. It's not that, right? And so meanwhile, there's these fans who, again, are waiting for these things, are the ones with the passion, have the might and the energy and the willingness to do so many actions, but on the platforms that we have today are only able to do microtransactions, right? Like they're only able to heart, or they're only able to like, or they're only able to comment, right? And they're capable of so much more. And so we're leveraging that, right? And our approach is going directly to these fans. And building these fan bases and these fandoms on this platform from the ground up, from the fans, right? And partnering with fan influencers, right? Who are known in the fandoms, and those who, have oftentimes have their own followings. They have, 20,000, 200,000, 500,000 sometimes followers. And they are these folks that people trust within these fandoms. And so not only are we kind of driving deep connections with understanding who the fans are, what their needs are, and not just focused on the creators, although, I love my creators, unlocking the fan needs and their nuances and applying this to a platform that allows them to dive in and obsess as deeply as they want to, is the approach that we've taken, and it seems to have unlocked, gold for us to strike on this opportunity.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, as I say, fans have been starved for the opportunity to interact with each other as well as with their favorite artists, and that's what this platform is really enabling. First with each other, with the artists, upside down from the normal routine where startups are being made or broken based on whether they're engaging initially with the artist. We're taking the opposite approach from the fan perspective. And I know one of your favorite sayings is from a recent article: super fans are the new street team, where they really are the megaphones for the artists. But the interactivity among themselves is just paramount.
Yeah, they're the cheerleaders, they're the advocates that are already working tirelessly for these creators and these artists. And it's time for two things, I'll say. One, for these folks to be able to do that more efficiently, for them to have a place where they can come together and immerse on a tool that's specifically made for fandom, not just generic social connection, but fandom has very specific ways that people want to engage. And then at the same time, allow for these creators to actually empower these fans to do something, right? Which is why we have another angle to our product, which is actually paying the creators for their fan activity, right? And so again, not only putting the onus on them to be the ones to create all of the content, but saying, given the fact that your fans are creating fan art, they're creating remixes, covers, they're selling things on Etsy, they're doing all of these activities, you're not getting a cent from any of that, despite the fact that you have created this extended world for them, right? And that doesn't make sense. That's a mismatch. And so how do we allow for you to not feel like you have to take down, and block this and do that, but rather empower them, participate in this and get a revenue cut, right? And a data and understanding from the fact that this fan activity and engagement is happening, right? Around the creation, around the connection and the commerce that's happening fan to fan.
So the commerce happens in two ways: fan to fan, where the fan can actually monetize their super fan status among other super fans, create a new revenue stream for themselves. Exactly. And then of course it's an incremental revenue stream for the artist as well to take a piece of that, like you say. There was a really good article out about a month ago today, I think, in fact, in Billboard called Fan Data Goldmine. And we just devoured it, you and I. Really good points in there that we resonated with for Fave. And it seems like data is really everything for artists these days. To engage with their super fans, to interact with them in so many ways, knowing who and where they are for tour routing, when that ramps up back to live later this year and next. And most importantly, to create compelling experiences with and for them. So, there's some great tools out there that were referenced in that article, everything from Community to Audigent, Unitia, other things like that. I expect we'll be finding ways to reach out and partner with some of these folks moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love the tools that are in this space now, and I think we will be able to extend them even further, right? There's a lot of data that comes, again, from people connecting, from people creating, from people competing even, and people engaging in commerce all on one platform, right? You can cross-reference activities. You can understand what's happening with this one person across multiple different aspects of a fan's life cycle, right? You can understand when they transition from one thing to another, how long they need in order for them to make a buying transaction, right? How many nodes in their networks do they need to have in order for them to feel empowered to connect with this? So there's so many pieces of data that we can get from, again, kind of having this go-to ecosystem of fandom. And this is where I feel so happy and compelled to bring this data back to the industry so that for them to act on, right? And so, again, things like who is the most influential fan now that you can make sure that you can prioritize, right? There is, of course, sometimes trade-offs that you can make in how you engage with certain fans. And if you do engage with somebody who's more influential, that's a different kind of story than somebody who's not, right? Sometimes it's just business. Who has been a recent, like they just discovered you, but they're now a rising star, right? And you may want to have a engagement and marketing campaign that's different for them, and maybe put them onto some old catalog stuff that they may now want to tap into. Whereas your long-term fans, like, they don't need that, right? They just need something that continues to keep them going and fresh, right? And again, who has the most buying power in this space, right? Where again, there's certain things that you can do around this. And I'll say that there's a lot of tools that we're building to make sure that we not only make this available, but also make this digestible, super digestible and quickly digestible, because being in this space, I know these artist teams don't have time. Nobody has time to sit there and read all these crazy graphs. So how can we give you something super, super easy for you to act on? How can we deliver critical moments for you that it's, okay, don't, rid of the fluff, right? But it's like, if you look at one thing happening in your fandom world today, it's this piece of information. And then further, how do we allow for people to act on that quickly, right? So it's given this data that we're finding, this is what we imagine that you should do with that. Do you want us to help you actually take that action, right? And so being able to even accelerate and sometimes automate some of these actions that have come from this fan data is where we're excited to take these creator tools.
Exactly.
So yeah, this is a huge, huge thing for us that we're excited about to bring back to the space.
Now I'm going to start to weave in some questions, even though I have a few more, of course, from our participants. One of which is Tom himself, who asks, "What are we going to be doing with what if Faith going to be doing with NFTs, or what are your thoughts about NFTs?"
Yes, of course. The question I get in almost every meeting now, though we have been thinking about this for the last year, right? Though it's become quite a buzzword in the recent months. So we have NFTs as something that we're thinking a lot about, right? And is incorporated into our marketplace strategy. So we are excited about it because it allows us to unlock that minted authenticity and that notion for a fan to be so proud of the fact that they have one of 10, one of one, one of 100 types of things. And that kind of collectible nature is what gets us super excited about this world. The other exciting thing is that we can make certain that the artist, when they provide an NFT, can always get that royalty coming back to them, no matter how many times we flip the product fan to fan to fan to fan to fan to fan, right? They always get that royalty, and it's traced, and there's no kind of messiness there, as opposed to the guy in the parking lot selling T-shirts outside the venue before they even get to the merch table inside, right? We now can always trace that royalty back. Where we want to make sure of is that it is a user-friendly process, right? An approach where right now, a lot of the tools, new ones are emerging, which is great, but a lot of the tools are still kind of crypto heavy, where you have to understand what gas is, and you have to set up an Ethereum wallet, and you have to do all of this, where a lot of the folks that we're engaging with are like, wait, I know what an NFT is, I've heard of that, but I have to do. So we want to make sure that we find partners, and if you are out there, come talk to us, that make this a super user-friendly process to start engaging with, right? And continue to engaging with. And this is where we want to make this an integral part of our platform. So yes, we're excited about this space and what it unlocks. Think it's super powerful. We're one of the ones that get it, and are looking forward to continuing this trend and making it humongous around fandom.
Exactly. And this segues to a little bit of a tangent, but related, which is that one of the things I'm most excited about is creating really fun, compelling experiences for fans.
Yeah.
For and with artists. So for example, we've talked, at a high level, we're not doing this necessarily actively right now, but just by way of an example, to engage the Swifties with, another artist's fans, Katy Perry or whoever else, and start to cross-pollinate some of these fans among the artists, which could lead to some really interesting exchanges.
Yeah, so when we understand how to engage in fandom versus fandom challenges, right, and what that unlocks, I think is an interesting thing as well. But how we leverage the fan to take full, I should say, maybe a full seat at the table around the artist team, and really, walk into those shoes and have them be recognized as, hey, I am a huge part of your business, and I'm a part of your, your street team and I'm a part of what you're doing here, and I can unlock all of these different things. Again, around selling things to other fans, around bringing fans together and making these movements. Oftentimes we see within fandoms, like they thrive with or without the artist oftentimes. And that's why our strategy doesn't depend on the artist actually being involved, but rather is one where they can have a thriving community even when they're not there. And if they are there, great, cherry on top, right?
Exactly.
But them recognizing that they are key players in this space and even finding out who these people are and being able to communicate with these people is a whole different story, right? They're not just user IDs on a platform anymore, where it's like, great, I see your transaction. I don't know how to get in contact with you, or I don't know that this transaction is the same one as this transaction, right? And so unlocking all of this communication potential and for them to, again, be empowered is something we're super excited about.
Well, and connecting the dots with some of those gaps that have been there to this point.
Yeah.
And so that leads me to another question, which is about market timing. As I mentioned earlier, Todd and I thought of this artist to fan engagement, ethos 25 years ago, and it was too early. What factors do you think make now the right time for Fave to take off at scale?
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple things, right? So the element, I can break it down like with the elements of what the platform is, right? So around creation, the fact that we allow for these fans to come in and create immersive video content. People were not engaging in putting themselves in front of a camera and having the guts to share the stories that are forming in their head 25 years ago, right? That, I remember as a kid, like I was, making on, what did we even refer to them as? Like video camcorders, making videos in my own bedroom, and then now YouTube emerged. I'm like, I would have been one of those like stars, right? If we were to do that.
The big thing then was to try to get fast enough internet speeds, frankly.
Yeah, the dial-up, like all of that good stuff. And so now it's quick. Like I've been in a car with my brother-in-law, and he's much younger than my husband, and so he just kept on his Snapchat camera in case anything interesting happened. And it's like, why are you just driving around? He's like, yeah, but this is what I do. And they're just so comfortable with creation now that I think that has unlocked a number of opportunities, and not just creation of other people, but turning this front-facing camera and sharing your own creativity that's been inspired by your favorite artists, which is what we often see within the fan content. And so people are walking into these shoes in much more friendly ways, and the barrier to entry, not just in the tools, but also in the creativity and making content easier to participate in and have templates and formats to react to, I think is much more approachable now. So
I will say that even from an artist perspective, all those years ago, our biggest challenge was to get to have artists see themselves as the center of their own wheel in a brand context, as opposed to being welded to the label mindset and that whole ecosystem, that they could liberate themselves and call their own shots and go direct to their fans. That was big back then.
And that for the influencers, right? If we consider these fans emerging as a new type of creator, this is unlocking that world as well, right? Where they actually see, hey, this is something that I can use to develop an audience, and it's tapping into something that they may not have had the mindset to do.
Exactly right. Well, I want to segue into what I think is a pretty exciting piece of this conversation, and that is that Fave has recently secured its initial funding from Female Founders Fund. And this is pre-beta. There's been an awful lot of interest from a lot of the usual suspect investors in music tech in Fave. And in fact, as we're having this conversation, we're getting close to wrapping up this current investment round with both the hottest music and entertainment company in Korea right now, and at least 2, if not 3, of the major labels. What's your take on their enthusiasm and receptivity beta?
So it's been humbling. It's been it's been a proud moment, right? That we, not only reached our goal for funding, which I initially was like, okay, that's a high goal, but we are now oversubscribed in our round, which is a word that I'm so grateful to be able to say in this context, right? You can imagine for any founder, that's incredible, but for a little old founder like me, right, I think is wonderful. And it speaks to the opportunity, and it speaks to, what we have as an exciting road ahead for us. But I think what they're taking to is our approach, our level of insight, our depth of understanding of this world, our fervor to make it happen, and our understanding that, while we're placing many bets in the space, we have the diligence and the readiness to iterate quickly on any changes that we need to do to react back to what's happening with these fans, right? And we have the right focus, we have the right team to do so. And so while we're growing that team and making sure we have the right folks to come aboard, it's been one that it's like, okay, people get it. There's a lot of, this is a big concept that I'm talking about, right? There's the marketplace and fans selling things around from their favorite creators. There's IP things that could go that we need to deal with there. There's monetization from other people's content, right? There's more things. So there's issues around this. And frankly, I think people are saying the opportunity that unlocks when you have this ecosystem is far worth the things that we'll need to use as the foundation to build on top of. So I was very surprised that these types of things were barely in the conversations, but rather a sight into this is what we've been looking for. This is the kind of thing we've been looking for, and this approach is one that we believe in as the one that can emerge to win. And so I'm telling you, Kelli, like, this is all great to see this momentum before the beta, but I just want to get to the beta and learn and iterate and talk to the users. Like I always say, like, the users are my boss, and I want to hear from them. And we have already been chatting with them, have long conversations on social, like with their feedback. I just sent something to my team today where somebody was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for building this, who got it. And they're like, y'all are geniuses. I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys are the ones that inspired us. Like, why are you being thankful to us? This is so crazy. But to see that early reception and confidence from the fans is what matters. Like, investors are amazing. The support has been amazing from the industry, but it wouldn't mean as much if the fans weren't just as excited, if not more excited, than the industry. And so I cannot. Sure.
One big lesson I took from my many years at Apple was keep the consumer at the center of the wheel. That's what's most important, in this case, the fans. So let's talk about the timing of when the Fave app will be released and launched to the broader market at large. I know it's imminent.
Yeah, absolutely. So within the next days, we'll be in the app stores, and we'll be focusing our attention first on Swifties, the Swifties fandom, which we're excited to kind of walk alongside this incredible moment that Taylor Swift is going through right now to re-record all of her music. And her fans are so inspired by this. And we have very specific campaigns in which we're working with the fans to create, and we're working with her fan influencers to make this happen. And so we're starting there, right? And so from there, we'll kind of launch tangential fandoms around this, and then continue to scale this out within the music world, and then soon do so for other industries and
other
relations.
Other verticals.
Yeah, other verticals. And so within days, we'll be able to start the process to get these early learnings. And then within the next weeks and months, it unlocks all of the fandoms to come aboard. So, folks who are listening, and if you find yourself as a super fan and, in these days, and, watch out for us, not only from your industry hat, but from your fan hat, right? And, nerd out with the people who love the same thing that you do, right? And we'll keep everyone posted.
Absolutely. And it will be launched simultaneously, iOS and Android?
Yep, exactly. Yep, we're good to go on the Android front as of today. And on iOS, we're working out, the Apple approvals are much stricter. And so we're working out the last few things there, and then we'll be off to the races.
Yeah, and I think another important point to really emphasize as we launch the beta and start to engage these super fans across, various different fandoms, is as we touched on briefly, creating sticky experiences that are going to excite those fans to encourage them to become evangelists, not just street team 4X artist, but evangelists to bring other fans over as well from other social media networks. Not looking to replace the other destinations where they hang out, but to augment that.
Absolutely, yes. So you just said it, right? This is not a leave Instagram, leave Twitter. It's like a, come be your fan self in these places, right? Where, your coworkers or your best friends don't care about the fact that you're obsessed with U2, right? Or The Walking Dead, or, these things. And now you can just be around the people who get you, right? And that's this world that we're doing. And our go-to-market, to your point, is absolutely not a afterthought for us. This is a very focused plan and execution process that we have, because we know that 0 to 1, 0 to 50 is much harder than that 50 to 100,000 to 1 million, right? And so it's a very focused approach for us. So yes, having things that will drive that hook to have people coming back every day, what will allow somebody to be incentivized to bring in other fans, right? And refer other fans and get them excited, right? The best moment that I've been having with the communications with the fans is when they say, okay, can I add this to my group chat, or can I bring in the friend? And it's been like, it's been amazing to have those moments. And that's the key, right? This net promoter score. And then understanding ways to retain them, right? And, don't just come for one campaign and then leave, right? But how do you stick around? And a lot of that is around establishing deep connections with these other fans. And so, everything from this early acquisition to activating them and getting them excited, having them, retain and refer, right? All the way down to revenue. This funnel here is a deep part of our strategy, where we're looking at every single one, understanding how to optimize, and then understanding with the transition from each phase to another, how do we reduce the risks of that leaky bucket that happens with product. Putting my product manager hat on, but once again, a super diligent strategy that we have to make sure that we take this approach well.
Exactly right. The retention is as much as the attraction, in my opinion, even more so. Kevin Klager had a question, Jacquelle. He says, do you have specific metrics or criteria you use when differentiating between a regular fan and a super fan?
That's a great one.
I want to hear what you say. I have an answer to that too, but go ahead, you first.
Sure, I'd love to hear yours too. So there are a couple things, right? And I'd say there's a little bit of a nuance. It's hard to see metrics, and it's hard to get a lot of that data right now. But what we're looking for is more on the qualitative side, right? Are there people who have been engaging in deeper activities beyond the normal fan? Listening on Spotify, that's great. Like, you're a casual fan, you are an intentional, fan, and you kind of seek out that thing. But when there's people who are becoming advocates for you, people who kind of know deeper information beyond, just the song that's playing on the radio or on a playlist, right? When there are people who want to find other people who are like you and are introduce themselves often in certain forums as, being a fan of you, or lighting up when they, see you come onto stage versus somebody else, or you have this interview versus somebody else. Those are some of the factors that we're looking for. We do have a breakdown of kind of super fandom versus intentional fan versus casual fan that we use to kind of segment these profiles. And frankly, in the beginning days of Fave, we were thinking, should we target all of these people? And I think there's so much magic in targeting that super fan and a bunch of opportunity where, though obviously a smaller market, right? We know that it's about 8% of a social following, for example. It's the richest, best consumer that we can ever partner with, right? I love these people.
Genre historically, which is classic rock, you can survive forever. The bands keep touring decade after decade because of the super fans.
Yeah.
which
That's
is a
it.
small percentage, but keeps them going. And historically, that would have been like a minimum 100,000 fans globally.
Yeah,
Usually
and that's
a lot more.
absolutely not the numbers you need anymore to develop
No,
a
no, no,
sustaining career.
no, but
It's like a do the math. You get 1,000 fans to buy something from you, like you can sustain, and then it's even you don't even need them to buy anymore. It's how do you get them to engage, get them to deepen that loyalty, right? And that lifetime value that you're getting from them goes far more when you can convert them to a super fan versus just casual fan. So that's where we're focusing on, and we know the industry has that same mindset as well.
exactly right. So where would we want to direct folks to ask additional questions over time for fans of certain artists that might want to start to work with us and create, bring their fandoms into view? Where would we send them, Jacquelle?
Yeah, I mean, come straight to me, right? My email is Jacquelle@faveforfans.com. You can also find more out about us at faveforfans.com. I am happy to connect with people who, again, kind of are interested in the space generally, have teams and creators and artists who understand that they can unlock much more from their fans. But don't know how to, but have the desire to. Technology partners who have cool experiences that they think, if applied to the fandom world, could be an incredible way for us to innovate deeper emotion and experiences there. Anyone else who is keen to understand the opportunities for this world, come chat. Let's chat. Drop me a note.
Exactly. Thank you for that. So we have a little bit of time left. Actually, I'm out of my questions for the moment. If we have some more from those that are participating, and Tom, maybe you might have some yourself.
I've got 100, but I'm fascinated with this because anyone knows me knows that I am an obsessive fan of several bands, none the least of which is Phish and REM and Neil Young and several.
Yeah.
The Police.
There you go.
So, Jacquelle, my question to you is: okay, super fans, big deal. What goes to 11? In other words, what's the obsessive fan like I am for these bands? Is there one more category higher?
This is the classic mindset of a fan. You see this, case in point right here. It's like, okay, don't bucket me in with these other people. I'm the one that emerges. I love it, Tom. So there's these kind of, there's the folks that, will get the tattoo on their arm. There's the folks that, like me growing up, right? Like you couldn't walk into my bedroom unless you said the name of my favorite artist first as a kid, right? Or, I knew how many freckles my favorite artist had. Like that kind of fandom is a different bucket, right? And there are opportunities there. Those are our best friends on the platform, right? So there's people who will want to come and kind of be passive engagers on Fave and be a part of the world and kind of watch the other content and be excited about what's going on. Then there's people who will be incentivized to participate. Hey, because our platform offers points for people for their engagement, right? And kind of taps into this gamification and lends to this competitive nature that a lot of these fans have, right? We unlock rewards based on the points that you're earning, right? That you can redeem in the marketplace. And so these people who are incentivized to say, hey, I'm going to work hard and engage deeply, right? So that I can get that signed album, so that I can get that, 20-minute FaceTime with my favorite artist during their makeup session, right? Or so that I can get this exclusive access, etc. That's another other level as well. And then there are the people who will sit there tirelessly in order to unlock the prestige that comes with being at the top of that leaderboard, or who will rally so many other fans in a group challenge for us to make sure that our fandom stays above, the little monsters, right? Like Lady Gaga's fandom, to make sure that we're ahead of the pack, right? And these are our most powerful partners. And you would imagine that there's not a lot of these people, but there's a ton of them. And sorry to break it to you, Tom, you're not alone in this, like, I'm among the out of the pack. And so these are the most exciting super fans for us. I should come up with some other word. And that, which reminds me, another word that kind of reminds me of this is fan-lebrity that we have had, which is, again, these people who emerge as known folks within the fandoms. Even in some of the fans that we're partnering with, in their bios, they have that they are fans of this other fan, right? It's like, I love Tiffany, who's just a fan of Taylor Swift.
Like a we're not worthy mentality when that super fan leaderboard person is in the room.
Yes, I've seen people like pause and say, oh my gosh, like Amy just walked in. Okay, Amy's here, and she's another fan. Okay, and so it's incredible to see this dynamic between fans that, once again, where is the platform that capitalizes on this? And now we're here, but it's just been amazing to witness. So yes.
I get very excited for these super fans because they get a chance to do things that they'll bring us challenges that they'd like to do over time. But even, for example, I'm just pulling something out of a hat, enabling a fan to vie for being able to create a piece of merch that's sold on a tour that their favorite artist is going to do. And that fan then gets a piece of the merch revenue. They get the validation beyond the official merch that an artist does, depending on, of course, if the artist has liberties with their own merch contracts to enable this. But wouldn't it be amazing for a fan-created T-shirt to be in the lineup, and then they get a piece of
Absolutely. And these are conversations that I've had with artist teams where they're willing to do this, right? If they know that, they aren't going to be the ones to create a super cool like bathing suit, right? Or a super cool scrunchie or a lamp, right? Like these random items, but these fans will, and oftentimes the fans want these things, sometimes even more than what's on the normal merch lineup. And so there's so much that kind of merge to say, let's create this whole drop from what the fans have created, or let's feature this fan as what's going there. And even some of the data that we'll provide is, hey, your merch is selling in this way, but what has actually taken your store revenue over the top is because, Becky's Becky's quilt is overselling, and you might want to promote this one in your store, right?
Exactly.
So
right.
It absolutely unlocks, again, having the fan be a seat at the table of the artist team is
and not only have the recognition and validation, but actual monetization potential.
Yes, absolutely.
So Rachel says, what's so great about this is that sometimes super fans are secret super fans, and what an amazing opportunity for them to come out of the woodwork and emerge on their own world stage, which I couldn't agree with.
Yep, our whole thing is elevating the voice of the fan, putting them center stage, and finally allowing them to emerge from this world, again, out of the 1,000 hearts that are living on a live stream where they all look the same, but it's like, one of those hearts is like your biggest diehard fan, right? And no, you don't know, right? And so, yes, putting a face to these people not only unlocks a lot of amazing things for the fellow fans to see each other, but for the artists to actually personalize, see the people behind and the stories behind the hearts, right? Like, I get very excited about what's to come.
I do too. Tom, I know that we're getting close to the top of the hour. Do you want to wrap it up, or do we have time for maybe one more question? Your call.
There is one more question in here from a woman named Ashley Toner. I'll read it real quick. I'm curious on what specific benefits I guess she means incentivize fans for groups featured on other platforms like Weverse. Would they be able to cultivate their own communities, or would they be limited to engaging with artists featured on Fave? So in other words, do you have the ability to be Switzerland, so to speak, I suppose?
Which comes full circle with where I'm living. So we've been chatting with many of these platforms to understand how we integrate some of these existing fan communities where they can not only continue to engage in the activities that they have, like Weverse, for example, gives exclusive benefits to fans from their favorite artists, but then extend those stories and opportunities to connect on a fan-to-fan basis, right? And so, yes, right, there's all, in addition to making sure that we have the ability for you to take what's already working on another platform and integrate it within Fave, there's also other thoughts that we have around, there's many proxies of what equals fanship, right? Again, like, everything we're talking about right now is just like MVP of Fave, like so many things that we want ahead. But one thing that we know is that creating engaging content is how we give somebody points, but that's not the only way to prove your fanship. And so there's, your listens on Spotify, there's the lifelong purchases of tickets that you've made, there's how much, white space you have left on your wall from posters, and Tom, you're winning there, right? So there's many other things that can showcase you as a fan. And we want to incorporate many of those data points into Fave so that we have a very full picture of what it is defining you as a fan, right? And that's a kind of a long-term full story here.
Yep.
Well, very cool. It's very exciting what you're doing, and it's no wonder that you were named to the 30 under 30 list. You are an absolute rock star. And Kelli,
thank you very much.
Kelli, I can't thank you enough for sharing her with our audience and the world at large.
Pleasure's mine, Tom. She's wonderful to work with every day. It's my pleasure.
I can tell, and it's going to be exciting to see what happens. No wonder you're oversubscribed on your fundraise too.
Thank you very much. You guys are kind. I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity. This was great.
So the audience, thank you for your time and attention here. I'm excited to come back tomorrow at 2 p.m. New York time for one more incredible pairing of Benta Brown and Susan Jenko. And it's going to be well worth your lunch money. So come and enjoy. And with that, folks, get your shots. I got mine today. Wear a mask and be nice to each other. See you later.
Be well, everyone.
Bye.